Today, we have a special guest, Rachel O'Connor, and she shares some transformational ways that we can take our mental health and wellness to the next level in ways you wouldn't even imagine. So stay tuned. Hey, parents, welcome to Fulfillment Therapy. Do you want to raise your kids better and have a stronger marriage? Are you up late at night researching marriage and parenting tools and self care tips? Do you start each day hoping for deeper connections and less chaos, but it ends with family arguments and going 12 different directions again? My name's Kendra, wife, mom, therapist, and growth enthusiast. It wasn't until I discovered how to fulfill my unmet needs that I was finally able to show up as my best self as a spouse and parent. I realized that by meeting my needs, I could more fully meet the needs of my family with more energy and less resentment. In this podcast, I teach parents skills like boundary setting, prioritizing personal needs, communication, and claiming ownership. Just like my clients, you'll be shocked by the improvement in your marriage, parenting, and personal life when you focus on fulfilling your important unmet needs. Ready to prioritize yourself so you can quit mentally throat punching people? Then grab those earbuds and head outside, and let's walk and talk. Welcome back to Fulfillment Therapy. Today we have a special guest, Rachel O'Connor, and she is a life and wellness coach, empowering women to make lasting life changes. She helps her clients break free from limiting beliefs, enabling them to create a future that's aligned with their true purpose and values. She's also a yoga teacher, and Rachel's work is grounded in mind, heart, body connection. Her greatest joy is to help people see that creating a life they love can be easier than they think. So thank you again, Rachel, for coming on the show. We're excited to have you.
Thank you so much, Kendra. I'm so happy to be here.
Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself in your own words?
Sure. Gosh, it was just interesting hearing that back. And um, it really, for me, my journey has been like many of us, it's like from our own struggle, we figure out what we want to do and how we want to show up in the world. And I Yeah, I've been working with women mostly to help them figure out themselves how to make the changes that they need to make. And it's not about me telling anyone what to do. It's about me helping them see what's there for them. And I do that both through coaching and yoga. And I'm excited myself in my own journey because I'm finding those two worlds coming together and weaving in. So again, it's that kind of the coaching around the mindset, the yoga around the body, and how they speak to each other and that intimacy that we're creating within ourselves. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, I love that. And very worthy, beautiful work. So both yoga and coaching. And how long have you been doing yoga?
Yoga, I started my own practice when I was 30. I think I
Okay.
was going through a life change then and figuring myself out. And within a couple of years of starting my practice, I started training and teaching. So I've been teaching maybe for around 20 years. I'm 57 now. And the coaching I've been doing it was just around the start of the pandemic, I started delving into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. I'm excited to have you on the show and ask you a few questions that will resonate with our listeners, I'm sure. So, do you mind if I jump in and ask you?
You too.
Okay. So, how did you get into coaching and empowering women to make those lasting life changes? And why is this important to you?
Okay, so it's funny. It was through a podcast. I I'd been in therapy myself for several years, and I was at the time going through a change. I had left my job. I'd been in publishing for years and I'd been pretty miserable. And I did that jumping without a net thing and I was figuring things out. And a friend had sent me a podcast from the Life Coach School. I don't know if you're familiar with Brooke Castillo. The podcast, it was one of her early ones, and she was talking about the reason why we don't go for things and make changes is because of how we will treat ourselves and speak to ourselves if we fail. And that resonated so strongly. It's me that's holding me back. It's not anything else. It's not the actual thing that I'm doing. It's a very culturally Irish, and I know we all do it worldwide, but in particular, I feel the Irish have a real way of being hard on ourselves. So anyway, it completely resonated. And it was like that access to, maybe I could do something differently. So I started listening, and then I went through their program and just was like, oh my God, I could do this. So it was life-changing for me. Yeah.
I remember stumbling across her as well and some other mentors and just thinking the same thing. It's just so pivotal and very important, recognizing that, yeah, it's us that's holding ourselves back from those key dreams. And I love hearing your story and sharing that because I think that resonates with a lot of us that we feel a little bit stuck, but we think it's maybe all these other outside factors, not really recognizing that, hey, maybe it's something that I'm doing that's preventing me from moving forward and even really knowing what to do for those next steps. At that point, what happened next? Did you sign up for a course or how did that?
Yeah, no, I registered for their membership. It's very full on, lots of coaching, lots of content. And it was one of those kind of things, wow, gosh. It was all about the thinking, right? Can I really think that way? It opened up all these new perspectives that I hadn't had access to. Even though I've been reading a lot and doing a lot of my own work, it was really that kind of shift in perspective.
Mm,
And that was what was so empowering to me. And this whole thing of you don't know what you don't know, I started
right.
figuring out what I didn't know. And it's ongoing. It still happens, which is why I love this work.
Yeah, definitely. Do you mind sharing a personal story or maybe even a client success story about how they broke free from a limiting habit and replaced it with a positive one?
Sure. So what comes to mind with this is one of my very early clients. And when I started, I'm more now into general life coaching and well-being, health and well-being. But I started off with helping women lose weight without the diet mentality. So I had a woman who started with me. When she first came on the call, she said, I have been dieting for 4 decades. She was doing Weight Watchers, and they're all about calorie counting. To be honest, I don't know how this happened, but just through coaching with me within about 3 weeks, she came on and she said, I've stopped calorie counting. And I was blown away because it was such a short amount of time, but she had literally been able to let that go just from a few new perspectives of how to look at something.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we worked on was discovering her, why did she want to lose weight? And
Mm,
rather than it just be all about the numbers on the scales, which is something that I worked on with a few people at that time, it was really getting underneath the why. And she and her husband had been in business together for many years, and they were getting to the stage where they could scale back a bit. Their kids were grown. I just want to be able to go out for a hike and not feel tired. I don't want my knees to hurt. So once she started connecting to that, and through the work, we worked together for 6 months, she said she stopped obsessing about food and what she was eating and what she was putting in her mouth. She didn't lose all the weight she wanted to, and she was fine with that. It was like an ongoing process for her. So it was that, again, shifts in perspective, and it doesn't have to happen overnight, but her whole relationship to herself, her body, and what she wanted to do shifted.
right. I love when people focus on their why because it really gets rid of a lot of that fluff or those other things that are distracting and really not what you want and tied to your values as much. So I love that you brought it back to that. If you don't mind, just for the sake of helping the listeners themselves understand maybe their why, can you share a little bit about how you discovered your why or even what your why is as they're thinking, what is my why?
Yeah, I would love to. So as I said, I left my job. It was 2017, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I remember my thought was, if I knew what I wanted to do, I would be in 100%. I'd be going for it, but I just don't know what it is. And I came up with this concept of, I had been reading this book, Designing Your Life, and highly recommend it. It's a really good one. And in it, they were talking about, again, it was that connection with your why and having conversations with people. Anyway, I came up with this project. I called it Project 100 Love. And I interviewed 100 people who loved what they did. And the concept was you love what you do, you're making a living from it. And I went in and I have them all recorded. It was my passion project to figure out what it is that I love. So I interviewed 100 people. It was to be in 100 days, but I did it in 150 days. And it was so uplifting. It was, again, all about that possibility and people talking about what they loved. We went in deep really quickly, and there was a lot of positivity. In my past, I thought I'd wanted to go into therapy, and I said, oh, I don't know if I want to stay stuck in that cycle. It was about this positive energy and possibility and opening and being in your own creativity, which I believe is how people discover what their purpose is, what brings out their creativity, what they're bringing to the world, what they're making. And I was so inspired. I started writing. I haven't been writing for years. And people kept on saying to me, when is your book coming out? And it's like, it's not a book. Anyways, when I discovered coaching, it was like, oh, I can just connect with people. And it's, of course, I'm bringing in my expertise and different blends and all of that. But coaching is about positivity and possibility. And so it just evolved. It wasn't like I woke up one morning and said, this is it. But that project 100% led me to coaching. And it just, yeah, was very special. It was like, I look back at it as like the golden time. It was like that transition from really being stuck and lost and not knowing, and then that connection with all these beautiful people, and then moving on to my own next chapter, which is a struggle. So not all ease and flow, but it's very rewarding.
Oh, I love that. And that you're able to help so many people in this journey as you leaned in and try to figure out what your why is, especially with that Project 100 Love. Is that what you called it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's such a beautiful idea, something that you can do to really decide what it is that you want to do and lean into that. So that's a great way to understand. So thank you for sharing that. So if you wouldn't mind, Rachel, can you tell us about consciousness and awareness and how you use these in your coaching practice? Maybe even share an example of where that led to health or growth.
Sure. Yeah. So I love this phrase, and I got it from, she's a yoga teacher, Ashley Sargent, and it's consciousness is healing. And it's kind of like that you can't heal what you can't feel. So a lot of my initial work with people is just bringing in that awareness of what's going on. And that comes out through their sharing and talking and reflecting back. It's like I didn't even know I was thinking that. So without that awareness key, we have no power because we're just in that cycle of reactivity and habit and just doing things that are based on conditioned beliefs. But once you start bringing things up into awareness, you then have the power to choose. So it's like that pause. And I love this idea of the sacred pause. And then you can choose what it is that you want to do next. I suppose an example of this is, and it comes back to, there's a theme that I see running through my work as well, is this shift from being hard on yourself, beating yourself up, bringing that into awareness and the pain that causes. Because when we see how we're treating ourselves, it's really wounding. It's, oh my gosh. And then there's this awareness and consciousness around why we're doing that. And to my core, every cell of my body, I have come to understand that's just a protective mechanism. And I get to feel compassion for this part of me that can be really nasty and mean. And I went through this process recently with a client who came to me to change her relationship with habits because she was so frustrated with herself that she couldn't do her daily routines that she wanted to do. And she was so tough on herself. What ended up happening is when she realized how awful she was being to herself. Again, we went through this process of, she was really sad. around that, and then started finding that compassion. And what happened was she then started finding how she could build in her habits in a way that was aligned with her, which was she's a free spirit. So she didn't have to do it at the same time every day. She was able to be more flexible with herself. It didn't have to look a certain way. And then, of course, that had a knock-on effect in all areas of her life in terms of having this self-compassion and how she was in relationship, how she was in her work. And it was just really beautiful to see. And again, that awareness and that journey through that awareness. And you have to go through each of the stages to come out. And it's ongoing. It's a lifetime work.
Absolutely. That self-compassion is such a key thing that unless that is there, healing is very difficult. And I hadn't heard of the phrase sacred pause before, but I love that.
Oh, that from Tara Brock. I don't
That's
know if you're
amazing.
familiar with her. She has the most amazing book called Radical Acceptance. She's a meditation teacher, and
Yeah.
she's yeah. So yeah, the sacred pause. Oh, it's
I'll
beautiful.
have to check out that book. Yeah, I haven't heard that, but that is so aptly said. There is this next level of healing that comes when we take time for that stillness and to really reflect and get intentional. And that
Mm.
showcases it very well. And then also how you said consciousness is healing, and you can't heal what you can't feel. So you can't bypass this consciousness if you really want that deep work to be done. And it sounds like you help people get there.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing when it does. And I think you touched on it earlier. As I go through my own growth, which is ongoing and ever evolving, you bring people along with you, and it's just amazing.
I know. I love that too. It's a very beautiful, sacred part of the work for sure. And I know a lot of people probably ask you about this. It's one thing that I get asked a lot about too. But is there anything about self care that you can tell us that maybe is not so typical, even though a lot of times the answers are just small and simple? Is there
Mm.
something different that you could teach our listeners that would help them when it comes to changing their lives in the form of self care?
Yeah, there are lots of ways of thinking about it, and there's lots of strategies and skills and lots of books out there that come with it. For me, it comes down, I love this word desire. It's like your why is it that you want this? And if your desire is big enough, and I also love this framing of commitment, because people say, I'm so committed. I'm so committed. And I can see your commitment because of what you're doing, not because it's like people say, I don't know why I can't change. I really want this and I'm so committed to this, but nothing's happening. So the commitment is action, right? So you have your desire, you really want something. If you are in action, and if that's greater than your resistance to what it is that you're doing, that you want to do, that's when you make that leap over and start making changes and have success. Because there's always going to be resistance. So we're habitual creatures. We have these things. Our brain is wired. We're in a groove. We start making changes. The brain says stop. So really galvanizing through that desire and very intentionally checking in with yourself, telling yourself what it is that you want. And anytime you do get into action, make any changes, you really celebrate yourself and say, hey, look at me, I did that. And I did that for me. And I did this because of this. And it just really just grows on itself and makes it fun and makes it very self-nurturing.
Said that, and that part is the action greater than the resistance.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. And that can be a tricky thing, but once you do that, once that you're able to achieve that, how much momentum and growth comes in that space.
Yeah.
Yes. So
But
you mentioned that you specialize in empowering women to align their lives with their true purpose and values. Do you
mhm.
mind sharing a story about a client that you helped make a shift in this area?
What I see is these kind of small shifts that are huge shifts, like with this client who changed her relationship with herself. And we worked together for 6 months. And I love as well at the end, she says, I'm good. I can go with this, with what I have. So I don't know where she's going to go with what she's discovered and where it is. I can only say that there, in this particular instance, that she wasn't quite sure where she wanted to go and what she wanted to do, but she was open to not having it be perfect and having it take a little time, but still work on where she was within herself. It's just these smaller shifts and not having that expectation of, oh, just because I'm doing this, everything changes.
And it's so often about those smaller shifts, right? That incremental change, those small course corrections that can really bring that big change over time, but maybe not necessarily overnight. I think for most of us, it's not for overnight. It's just those small incremental steps.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you wouldn't mind talking to us a little bit about mastering habits and making those lasting changes, what do you teach your clients that can help listeners improve their lives?
Yeah. This is where the values alignment comes in. And people often do, oh, I should be going to the gym and I should be doing this. And why can't I do this? And it's, again, it's that pause, that's getting quiet and, you know, why do you want to do this? And what is it? What is your expression of that? And one of the things I love, what access in is, what did you like doing as a kid? And so for me, I loved swimming as a kid. And
Yeah.
for years, I haven't swum. And again, around the time I left my job, I started swimming again. And then the pandemic hit and the pool's closed. So now, and I still do it, I swim in the bay. I live in the Bay Area of San Francisco. I swim in the bay every morning. And that's a big part of my self-care routine. And that's so aligned with me being out in nature, being attuned with the rhythms of life. And it's now part of my identity and who I am. So it's not a habit, it's part of my life and who I am. So it's really getting people aligned with what it is that they love and what it is that they want. And so one of my clients a while ago, she was stuck, was an artist, but she was very stuck and couldn't bring herself to go into her creativity mode and do her work. And one of the things she had wanted to bring in self-care around exercise, and she just couldn't do it. Anyway, she ended up, it was like connecting with dancing. And she literally just danced for 15 minutes a day and started shifting, and that opened up that access to her creativity. And that was what she wanted to do. So it's
It's
very individualized.
absolutely. And it's so interesting, again, with that sacred pause, how we're able to really get intentional and with a coach or a therapist, whoever that might be, breaking that down a little bit more. I love how you asked, what did you like to do as a kid? And then aligning that with your values now. Again, so individual for different people and getting really specific about what that looks like. Like maybe I've never liked the gym or that culture. That doesn't mean I have to go to the gym. It could be I go out in nature or I've been doing a lot more walks outside now that the weather's beautiful and just that time to pause and it can be different for every person. It could be playing the drums, it could be whatever it is.
Yeah.
I love that.
100%.
Very helpful. And then my last question for you today is, as you reflect on your own journey, what recent changes or practices have you implemented to deepen your own personal fulfillment?
Sure. I'm about to turn 57. And on my birthday last year in April, when I turned 56, my father died when he was 56. And I'm the youngest in my family. And each year that my siblings turn 56, we all acknowledge each other. Wow, we're here. And it's very much honoring our lives at this point, right? And what it is that we want. So I started a journal where each day I'd put the date and I'd say 56 years plus 1 day. So today I'm 331 days in. I started mapping out it's free flowing consciousness, but it was just naming those parts, those voices on what was going on, including the mean ones, including the nice ones, right? So it's just little phrases. And then every now and again, I would check in and I'd say, I hear you, I love you. So it wasn't about necessarily engaging with them. It's, I love you, I'm listening journals. I've got 3 of them filled right now. And that has, and again, those incremental changes, I can't see it, but I look back and see how things have shifted in my life. And it's so literally every day I'm telling myself I love myself maybe 10 times. And It's a half an hour. I have my coffee when I do it, close my book, and I can't start my day without it. It's again, it's part of that ritual, that habit. And I don't get to know exactly what it's doing, and it doesn't really matter. It's just, I know that it supports me. So that's one of my ones that I really love.
That's a beautiful practice. And yeah, it doesn't have to be for this specific end goal that you have in mind, but just this process of being still. And I love how you say, I hear you, I love you, and doing that over. And yeah, you may not know the end result, and yet you're changing your brain so much. We talk about neuroplasticity a lot on the show, but just changing those neural pathways. And instead of that go to of just harassing yourself and just really hating yourself or getting so discouraged, it's just honoring the process and loving yourself, the messy parts, the other parts. I think that's just so beautiful. Thank you for
No,
sharing
thank
that.
you. Yeah, you're
Mhm.
so welcome.
Rachel, do you mind sharing where we can find you if people want coaching or if they want to see any of your resources?
Sure. I'm on LinkedIn, on Facebook. I'm not really on Instagram. RachelO'ConnorCoaching.com is my website, and all the links to all my social media is there. And I don't know if you share in your notes, they'll get the spelling and all that. So it's either RachelO'ConnorCoaching.com or Rachel O'Connor Wellness. Either one will get you there.
Yeah, I will put it in the show notes. So on this episode
Yeah.
and anything that we post for the episode as well on any of our social media channels, they can also find that. Yeah, they can reach out to you there. And thank you so much again, Rachel, for coming on the show.
Thank you. And
Oh,
really
thank
wonderful.
you.
Yeah, I really enjoy your podcast.
I appreciate that. Well, thank you for adding to it today. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, chances are someone else would too. Would you take 30 seconds to share this with a friend who's looking for greater family fulfillment? And while you're sharing, tell me what you think about the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. It refuels me when I hear this podcast is helping you. No matter what your house or your hair looks like, I'll meet you back here every Monday and Thursday morning for more episodes. Until then,